Shavua Tov, everybody. I'm Rolene Marks. This is the Israel Brief brought to you by Lay of the Land. Now, today's edition of the Israel Brief is a special broadcast because the events of the last 24 hours in Israel have been quite extraordinary and unprecedented. I'm going to go into those details in a second. I also want to reiterate, because there seems to be some confusion, the role of a reporter is to bring you the news as it happens on the ground. It is not to give personal opinions or to enforce our own agenda. And there have been some people commenting on a variety of our social media, including our website, who don't seem to be discerning between the news that is broadcast on the Israel Brief and opinion pieces that we publish. So I just wanted to clear that up before I get into the issues at hand. And we begin with Saturday night. After delaying his statement to the Israeli public, the former defense minister Yoav Gallant addressed the Israeli population, saying that he believes that the proposed judicial overhauls should be halted. Now, Gallant was due to give that statement on Thursday night as soon as Prime Minister Netanyahu made his comments addressing the nation. It was reported that the Prime Minister and the Defense Minister had been in lengthy meetings, and it was agreed that Gallant would delay his statement. However, Saturday night he made the comments, and last night, in quite an extraordinary move, the Prime Minister fired Gallant. This has set off a chain of events and protests across the country. Hundreds of thousands of Israelis took to the streets from Eilat in the south right through to Haifa in the north last night to protest the firing of the defense minister. Some were saying that this is a Ramadan. This is traditionally a very, very difficult and violent period for Israel, and we cannot have these upheavals to our security, while others criticized the Prime Minister, saying it is not democratic to fire somebody who disagrees with your opinion. Now, just to update you, Ramadan has gone off peacefully so far, and Yoav Gallant, along with the heads of the Mossad and the Shin Bet, have been cautioning the Prime Minister against going ahead with these proposed overhauls. Now, we have heard dissenting opinions coming from within the ruling Likud party. We have stalwart members like Yuli Edelstein, who is of the firm belief that the proposed judicial overhauls must be halted, and that discussions around reforms should take place that are more broad-based. Earlier today, we heard from Nir Barkat, also a Likud stalwart, saying that he calls on the Likud to stand behind the coalition and ensure that it does not collapse. Early this morning, President Herzog made his comments to the nation. He called on all parties to cease moving ahead with the proposed overhaul, saying, wake up. He also said that the events happening the previous night, we don't know if he was referring to protests or the firing of Gallant, were deeply upsetting. We've also heard from the head of the Jewish Agency for Israel, Colonel Doron Almog, who has also cautioned against going ahead with the proposed overhaul, saying that as Israel approaches our 75th year of independence, we need to have unity. Meanwhile, Netanyahu's defense attorney has said that he will no longer represent the Prime Minister if these judicial overhauls go ahead. He also will not be representing the Prime Minister in his ongoing trial. Other events happening today: the head of Israel's largest labor union, the Histadrut, declared a national strike. Now, this general strike is believed to be the first in Israel's modern history. The last major strike on this level happened during the British Mandate. Now, effectively, what this means is that the airport is currently on strike, which means that all departing flights have been grounded until further notice. We don't know when flights will resume. The medical fraternity is on strike, except, of course, for emergencies. Schools have closed early. Municipalities, including the municipality where I am in Modi'in, have also joined the strike. Banks have closed, businesses have closed, malls have closed, and schools have closed till after the Passover break. And various others have also announced their intentions to join the strike, including McDonald's and McDonald's food chains. We expect to hear more and more businesses join the strike until Prime Minister Netanyahu is expected to speak. The Prime Minister was scheduled to speak at 10 o'clock this morning. That has been delayed several times, and it is believed that he is delaying addressing the nation and is expected to announce that he will pause the proposed overhauls. Now, just earlier today, Simcha Rothman, one of the architects of the proposed judicial overhaul, said that he calls on all supporters of the reforms to join a counter-protest outside of the Knesset. As we speak, tens of thousands of Israelis are coming in from all over the country to protest against the proposed overhauls going through. Now, Channel 13 were reporting just a short while ago that those in Netanyahu's circle believe that the Prime Minister wants to see how big these counter protests will be, and he will make his statement dependent on that. Meanwhile, it has been released that La Familia, an extremist organization, will be joining the pro-reformed protests outside the Knesset, and police have said that they are aware of this and will be significantly increasing their presence. Netanyahu has broken cover to put out a tweet. In his tweet, he appealed to both sides to proceed responsibly and refrain from violence, saying, "We are all brothers." However, he is yet to make his statement whether or not he will be halting the proposed judicial overhauls. Meanwhile, Justice Minister Yariv Levin has said that he will not resign, but he will support whatever decision Netanyahu makes. Now, it was believed that Yariv Levin had threatened to resign last night in a move that could be seen as a step towards toppling the government. Others are reporting that Itamar Ben-Gvir, one of the chairmen of the Otzma Yehudi, the far-right party in the Knesset, is debating whether or not he will be resigning. However, it is believed that he will continue to support the coalition. An unnamed source within the Likud is believed to have told I24 News and Hebrew Media also earlier today that the Prime Minister could introduce a referendum whether or not these judicial overhauls should go forward or not. Meanwhile, leader of the opposition, Yair Lapid, has said that we will not rest until Israel has a constitution. Now, just to reiterate, if you haven't been following all the updates as they've been happening over the last couple of months, Israel does not have a constitution like many other countries. Israel has one seat of the government and the Supreme Court. Because we don't have a constitution, our Declaration of Independence, which enshrines civil rights, is believed to be the document that safeguards the civil and human rights of all Israelis, and that the Supreme Court maintains the necessary checks and balances to make sure those values are enshrined. It is believed that the proposed override clause, which is one of the many clauses in these proposed reforms, could see the authority being taken away from the Supreme Court in a 61 majority of members of Knesset vote. Very complicated, you say? It is very complicated. This is a very complicated issue, and I really would caution people away from saying it's a leftist versus right issue, a secular versus reform, or that it is an issue of election results. It is a lot more complicated than that. And that is where we stand at the moment. I know it's a lot to absorb. It's been an insane day, especially for all of us who are covering the news here in Israel. Meanwhile, don't forget to check out our website at www.layoftheland.online, our Facebook page at Lottel's site, our YouTube channel at The Israel Brief, and we're on Twitter, as always, at Lay of the Land 5. I'm Rolene Marks. This is The Israel Brief, and we'll check in with each other tomorrow for what I'm sure will be another jam-packed news day.